Guys, I had these marks come on my face when I felt something hit me, and it started to form like big marks. So I could feel something hitting me, and then these marks showed up on my face. And I wanted to show you that. So I just want to go over some things that they're talking about, and then I'll talk about what I want to talk about first, and I'll go over some things they're talking about. So, what I wanted to talk about, I did a video called Keeping Secrets, and that's also the title of a Suzanne Summers book. And she talked a lot about just how your environment can affect your health. And that really bothered them. And they went on about it a lot. And then they said, well, my generation would remember Suzanne Summers from the time we were kids. Exactly. What I think happened is they're telling me what they thought I was thinking, but when my actual thoughts don't mix with what they thought I was thinking, it shows that they were either talking amongst themselves and I didn't hear it, or they were trying to make me feel that. So what they are upset about is that I'm proving, and a lot of other people are proving, that these voices aren't in our heads. It doesn't match what we actually feel or think. That's why they call it, someone said, synthetic telepathy. But I think it's more than just synthetic telepathy. It's how they want us to feel. Because if you say to a child, you I'm your older whatever, and you're thinking this, the child will say, no, I'm not, I'm thinking blah blah blah. That's how it would be in a normal interaction. But because this is some sort of system where they're telling me that as a child they told me this and I didn't hear it, I wasn't feeling that, and nobody ever said, are you feeling this? And that's part of what I've been saying about this all along. It seems like, wouldn't you, if you're investing millions of dollars in these voices and dreams and all this other stuff, ever ask me? They didn't ask me. So another big deal about that is when they're talking about things that I don't remember. Why wouldn't they just ask me even recently? Do you remember such and such and such and such? No, it's more like, this is what you said, this is what you did, and it's not true. The bigger deal about that is when I'm talking about this, and I'm talking about something as simple as my memories of people when I was a child, either people I knew or people on television, and it's not matching what they're saying. It seems to me that they weren't doing it based on me. And when they're talking about how they're trying to have these conversations with multiple people at the same time, if it's in my head, how would anyone else have heard it? It's not my thoughts. It's someone else saying this. And if they're saying it and then they're saying it directly to me, and they admit this wasn't my program. So this program wasn't based on me. Had it been based on me, this would have worked a different way. So they said that they thought I would be ashamed. Again, here we go with the guilt and shame to admit these things, and that they won. That's partly why I'm not ashamed. If anyone has the ability to do this to you, they have a lot of power. And to use that power over children. Do I have to say anything else? Can I just end that sentence and go to the next thing? Let me go over what they're talking about. So they're talking about, like I said, keeping secrets. That was a video that I just uploaded, and I'm uploading the second part. And then when um there was a movie called Keeping Secrets with Suzanne Summers, they were upset about that. They're very upset because what they're trying to do is change it. They said they wanted to make this a highly black channel. Here's my problem with this, and I want to talk about this, and I'm going to try not to go off on the other stuff they're talking about. If I didn't have a highly black life, I can't have a highly black channel. My channel, my channel should reflect me. I always had different races around me, including the people doing this. I mean, how that would mean I would be excluding them, but let's not tell them that. They're upset because they feel like I've excluded them from my life because they aren't good people. So my question becomes, if you aren't highly black, how could I have a highly black channel? If I include you in my channel, it's not going to be highly black anymore. That's another part of this. If my thoughts are nothing like theirs, how could they claim they knew what I was thinking? The other part about that, is that if I grew up like you guys already know in the 70s and 80s in New York City. There's nothing highly black about New York City. And when they're talking and they're pretending that it is, I'm like, where were you? What neighborhood were you in where it was highly black? It doesn't exist in New York City. I mean, if you ask almost anyone who's grown up in New York City, the moment you talk to them, they're going to bring up a non-black person because that was our lives. It wasn't a highly black, it's not a highly black city. And I did something in a post where I talked about the breakdown of races when I was like in the 70s and the 80s, then the 90s. We don't have highly black anything. So when we're talking about my life, maybe not everyone would have the same experiences, but I don't have a highly black life. So if my channel is going to reflect me and my life, it's going to be a mix of people, a mix of um even if you're black, you would be West Indian, you'd be African American, you'd be from this country, that country. So they were offended when I talked about how strange it was in the beginning when a lot of white foreign people started to follow me, because that is abnormal. It's not normal to have people following you to begin with, but it wouldn't be normal for people who aren't from this country to follow an American. Because let me put it this way: if I'm going to anywhere in the world and I start following someone who's a native of that country, that wouldn't be normal. Usually, how it would work is a native of a country would follow someone who is not a native of the country. So that's part of why when they're talking, they're not making sense to me. And again, when they say that I come off like I'm smart, it's not necessarily that I'm smart, it's logical. If I'm somebody who's familiar with this area and I grew up here, why would someone just come to this country and automatically like start stalking me? That that isn't logical. And something about that is something bigger that I would like to talk about. They'll cut me off, but I just want to talk about the bigger issue here. The bigger issue here is that that implies that they're given something that a native of this country isn't being given: the ability to commit a crime and get away with it. That's partially why I don't feel shame about this, because someone gave them the ability to shout out my social security number, make up lies about me, call me a child molester, say I accused men of raping me, all sorts of things, and nobody cares. And it's a crime. So when they're talking about, oh, they thought, I can't really hear what they're talking about. And I can prove that they're committing a crime and I can show you the evidence, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we'll apologize, but then we'll do the same thing over and over again. So someone's giving them the ability not just to lie once, twice, three times, but repeatedly, and think it's okay. And then claim that they can come up with my own stories and not actually put it out there. I told them, put it out there. Because how this will eventually work is that if as I'm putting it out there and they're not coming up with the proof that they're not lying, then they are the liars I said they are. I'm coming up with proof that they're lying. So when they keep talking about things, and I want to show you the areas that itch so that maybe you guys can see what I'm seeing. When they're putting it out there that I'm lying, it's not for me to prove my innocence. It's